walked out of northern France in the cold gray morning with only a bottle of water, a few butter biscuits, and some old pennies clinging in his pocket. The road before him was wet and shimmering, and every breath he took rolled out as a long white cloud in the air. He lifted his tiny harmonica and blew a soft tremble, a slow stretch into the empty fields, as if the world needed a reminder he was still here. The fog wrapped around him like a tired blanket, but he kept whispering to himself, keep going. The sounds pulling him forward as the land slowly rose toward the Alps. Villagers passed by, quiet windows, sleeping dogs, chimneys breathing thin smoke. He chewed one biscuit slowly, letting the crumbs fall like little memories he no longer needed. Then he played another note, bending it low, then high, letting it drift down the valley. Switzerland welcomed him with deep forests and cold shadows. Snow began falling in soft flakes, resting on his shoulders, melting on the harmonica's metal edge. The silence was so deep he could hear his heartbeat as a slow drum. He whispered, freedom, letting the word stretch until it disappeared between the pines. His fingers were stiff, his lips numb, but he played anyway. Long drawn blue notes floating like ghosts above the frost. The climb grew harder, the wind cut like tiny knives, but he kept taking step after step, muttering, one more move, one more breath, as if the words themselves carried him up the mountain. When the cold bit too deeply, he lifted the harmonica and released a trembling, bending cry. From the cliffs and came back softer, warmer, like a friend. Country up here with wooden huts, silver peaks, and a small cafe near a frozen pass. His pennies were few, thin and cold, but enough for a single hot coffee. He stepped inside, the bell ringing a low warm tone that slipped straight into his soul. Snow tapped on the window, tick, 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 a gentle rhythm guiding his breath back into calm. His hands around the cup, letting the warmth sink into his bones. Then he lifted the harmonica one more time and played a long, soft, rising note that filled the whole cafe with something tender and alive. The owner smiled and he whispered, this is peace, letting the sound fade into the steam of the cup. Back outside, Italy waited beyond the ridge. Softer wind, gentle rollers, a promise of light after all the frost. And as he walked, he laughed quietly, a low stretched sound. Finally, he let the harmonica answer with a long wandering blues line that carried him down into the valley. Well, the world no longer felt heavy, and his heart finally found